Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Ukraine, and today I have another update to share with you regarding ceasefire negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Let's start off with this new report here on your screen. Zelenskyy refuses to cede the Donbas to Russia after Putin's demands. A source familiar with the discussion cited Trump's words that Putin proposed freezing most of the front line if Ukraine surrendered all of Donbas in eastern Ukraine. Okay, so this is a story we've been hearing about for numerous days now that allegedly Putin was going to demand Ukraine to withdraw from the Donbas, which includes the Luhansk and Donetsk regions in eastern Ukraine. And this is what Putin actually proposed to Trump yesterday, demanding Ukraine to withdraw from these regions. So Trump allegedly passed that information on over to Zelenskyy and European leaders during that phone call while he was heading back early last night from Alaska back to Washington, D.C. We actually had this new report that came out today also. I want to show you this real quick from Visioner. It says, according to the New York Times, which is a mainstream news publication, Trump told European leaders that peace could be quickly achieved if Zelenskyy fully cedes Donbas to Russia, including territories not currently under Russian control. In return, Putin offered him a ceasefire based on the current front lines and a written commitment not to attack Ukraine or Europe again. So let me know if you think that Putin would hold up to that commitment, saying that he would not attack Ukraine or Europe ever again, and we would just see a ceasefire if Ukraine were to give up the Donbass. So yeah, this is what the New York Times was stating today, that that's what Trump said, that he thinks that there would be quick peace in this war if Ukraine were to just simply give up the Donbass. And we know that Ukraine's not willing to do that because there's major fortifications that are built in the Donetsk region right now that would stop the Russians from quickly advancing further into Ukraine. And Ukraine's been building these fortifications for years now. So, very interesting report today. And now I want to show you guys this information regarding Zelenskyy refusing to give up the Donbass over to Russia. Let's jump on over here to a mainstream news report from UNN. This is out of Ukraine. It says Zelenskyy refused to cede Donbass in conversation with Trump and European leaders, according to media. And this coming out today, August 16th, 2025. And it says right here, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, in a conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump and European leaders, rejected a proposal to cede the entire Donetsk region in order to freeze most of the front lines, the UNN reports. So it's crazy, right? So Ukraine would give up the Donbass, that's Donetsk region and Luhansk, and then in return, we would probably see a freeze of the front lines. According to Vladimir Putin, that would be in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, and then I would assume that Russia would withdraw from some of the other regions they've been fighting in, for example, Kharkiv and Sumy regions of Ukraine. So it also says U.S. President Donald Trump said on Saturday that Ukraine should make a deal to end the war with Russia because Russia is a very big country and they are not, after holding a summit where Vladimir Putin reportedly demanded more Ukrainian lands. During a subsequent briefing with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, a source familiar with the discussion cited Trump as suggesting to freeze most of the front lines if Kiev's forces ceded the entire Donetsk region, an industrial area that is one of Moscow's main targets. According to the source, Zelenskyy rejected this demand. Russia already controls a fifth of Ukraine, including about three-quarters of the Donetsk region, which it first entered in 2014. Trump also said he agreed with Putin that a peace deal should be sought without a prior ceasefire, which Ukraine and its European allies, who had until then enjoyed U.S. support, had demanded. Zelenskyy said he would meet Trump in Washington on Monday, while Kiev's European allies welcomed Trump's efforts but pledged to support Ukraine and strengthen sanctions against Russia. The source said European leaders were also invited to participate in talks on Monday. Yeah, we reported this already to you guys earlier that Zelenskyy and European partners are going to be showing up in Washington, D.C. on Monday to meet with Trump and discuss how this meeting with Putin and Trump went yesterday in Alaska. It says Trump's meeting with Putin in Alaska on Friday, the first U.S.-Russia summit since Moscow launched a full-scale invasion, of Ukraine in February 2022, lasted only 3 hours. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy confirmed a lengthy conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump following the Alaska summit, indicating that Ukraine confirms it is ready to work as productively as possible for peace and supports a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, the U.S., and Russia, and that he is going to talks with Trump in Washington on Monday. Okay, so clearly we had Zelenskyy in this phone call with European leaders and Trump, telling Trump directly, no, they're not going to give up the Donbas. And this was actually reported like 4 days ago. Numerous mainstream news outlets were already indicating that Zelenskyy was not going to be ceding this territory over to Russia. So now that Ukraine is not going to give up the Donbass, what happens from here now? Looks like we're running into more roadblocks, and it looks like also Zelenskyy wants to force Russia to give up some territory or make some sort of concessions, because for the most part, what do we see coming from the Russia side is more demands than actual concessions. So very interesting how this is all playing out. I'll continue to follow this situation with this whole negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. As soon as I get more updates, we'll do another video for you guys. But I want to thank you very much for being here. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. But that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.